Hey, it's Mr. Johns. Welcome to Unit 1, presentation number 2. We're going to be talking about rules of the road. These are the Idaho traffic laws that you need to understand and follow to be legal as a driver on the road. So, of course, these are important. These are the things that'll prevent you from getting a ticket and keep you safe and keep your driver's license. If you get too many tickets, by the way, they take your license away temporarily, and then if you keep getting tickets, they take it away longer, and they can actually take it away permanently if you're not careful. So we want to make sure we understand the laws. And of course, the laws are the questions on my quizzes are based on the laws, and the questions on the state test that you'll be taking at the end of everything includes some laws as well. So all Idaho traffic laws can be found online if you're interested. It's Title 49 under motor vehicles. So there's a whole bunch of chapters, as you can see. So yeah, if you ever want to argue a law or look up a law or disagree with a law or just curious about a law, you can look this up online and then go into the chapter that's related to. And I've done that before. I just wasn't sure about a specific thing, and it's very detailed. There's some things in here that are not in this course, but the important ones are. So you can look through here and see snowmobiles, that's a motor vehicle. So there's a whole section on snowmobiles. Something like funeral processions, because we can come across funeral processions. You will see some questions and information in this course about funeral processions. The laws and facts that you need to know to pass that state test and the final exam in this course are all in the Idaho Driver's Manual. My final exam and my quizzes include much more than that, and I've had some parents and students complain about that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to give you a broad education to be a overall excellent driver. If you wait until you're 17, you can just go take the test and know nothing more than just the facts, the laws. But in driver's ed class, we teach you much, much more than that. But just so you know, when you go down and take the written test, it won't be everything from my class. It'll be just from the Idaho Driver's Manual. I have the link in this class to the manual, but you can also go pick up one at your local DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles. This short presentation will help you better understand the laws you need to know to pass the DMV written exam and become a better driver. So there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of places you have to stop. I've pretty much put the ones that I know are on my tests and that I know are on the state test. So these are the biggies. Just know that you have to stop before a stop line or crosswalk. The stop line comes first, even more than a stop sign. So keep in mind, a stop sign just says you have to stop at this intersection. Kind of a trick question, but you do not have to stop at the stop sign. That's not the law. You just have to stop at that intersection that is has a stop sign. But if there's a stop line, that's a big, wide, thick white line, that takes precedence. If there's a crosswalk but no stop line, then the crosswalk is where you stop before. And if there's not a line, but there's a stop sign, you have to stop before you enter the intersection, right? So common sense there. You have to stop for any red light or sign that's flashing or solid. You have to stop for a pedestrian that's crossing in a crosswalk, even if they don't have the right of way. That's a toughie. This is a toughie, but we have to give people first priority, because they won't kill us by walking into our car. We will kill them by running them over. So keep that in mind. You have to stop for a pedestrian. Now, notice the wording of that. You have to stop for a pedestrian crossing in a crosswalk. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yes, you should stop for a pedestrian anytime that you'll run them over if you don't. You have to stop at a railroad crossing when a train is coming, or when those signals, gates, or signs are indicating that there's an approaching train. You never try to beat a train. They're coming way faster than they look. When entering a street from an alley, building, driveway, or private road. This is a kind of a tricky one. A lot of people don't know this. You actually have to stop before you leave your driveway. You have to. Now, I do this every day, and there's a lot of kids in my neighborhood. So if I didn't stop, there could be a kid on a scooter, on a bicycle, somebody walking their children. So, I mean, that is the main reason that that's a law. So keep that in mind. If people are just zipping out of your driveway, flying out from the garage, they're actually breaking a law. Do people do it? Yeah, of course they do. People break the laws all the time. But we want you to be a better driver. We want you to be above the average. And so, again, when you're entering a street from an alley, building, driveway, or private road, if a police officer asks you to, for an emergency or police vehicle sounding a siren or flashing red or blue lights, and you should move over to the right, the furthest to the right that you can safely. For a school bus that is loading or unloading students. So school bus questions will be on my tests, and they are on the state exam also. So really make sure you understand when you have to stop for a school bus and when you don't have to stop for a school bus. Just the other day, I was driving behind traffic and somebody slammed on the brakes in front of me on a 5-lane road, and the school bus was stopped on the opposite side. We did not have to stop, but the traffic behind the school bus did. So it's if there's 2 or more lanes going in each direction, opposite traffic does not have to stop. Now, that person in front of me about caused a crash because the better drivers, us, we knew we didn't have to stop. This driver just saw the school bus, didn't know what to do, slammed on his brakes. So you can see why it's important to know the law, but you have to kind of predict that other people won't be as good as you. All right. So if you're involved in a wreck, you also have to stop. All right. So how do you handle stop signs? How do you handle stop signs?
Is pretty easy to understand. Drivers must come to a complete stop.
You must stop just before the stop line. If there's no stop line, just before the sidewalk. You must look for other vehicles, pedestrians, cyclists, and other road users who may be entering the intersection.
Give them the right of way, and when it's clear, you may proceed through the intersection.
However, you may need to slowly move forward for a better view of the traffic to see if it's safe.
A driver who just slows down and glides through the intersection without making a complete stop has a higher chance of not seeing a pedestrian, cyclist, or another vehicle.
Make a complete stop and be sure the intersection is safe to enter. This can prevent a serious collision.
For more driving tips, watch the 60-second driver Thursdays at 6 on CTV News.
All right, so I use the 60-second driver a lot. You'll see those often, and that's because I worked with those people in a lot of driver's ed situations. And okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to maximize this again. So, boop, 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 1 second. Let's do this. Okay, fine. There we go. I'm not sure how I didn't see the maximize button there. Anyway, so I work with those people a lot, and so they use some of my material. I use some of theirs. And in Canada, they have 60-second driver tips on their news every week, which is pretty cool. So that's a government kind of funded traffic safety initiative. So that particular video is talking about stopping at a stop sign. I noticed that she mentioned sometimes you may have to stop and then creep forward and stop again. So if there's a stop line where you have to stop but you can't see traffic, it is perfectly okay once you stop fully to creep forward. And you don't have to stop again after that point, but you can creep forward and then go when it's clear. Okay. So also you notice they talked about a rolling stop. I don't know why we call them California stops. We've always called it that here in Idaho. I think Idaho drivers probably do it just as much. So that is when you don't fully stop because you're impatient. And so that is against the law. Your wheels have to come to a full stop. Okay. Speed limits. There is such a thing called the basic rule, which means no matter what the posted speed limit, you must judge the situation and conditions and drive adjust your speed accordingly. So let's say there's black ice or snow and the speed limit's 35, but 30 is going to make you slide off the road and you have to drive at 25 just to stay on the road. You could actually get a speeding ticket for going 30 in a 35. So understand that. It's the law, and you can't argue that with a police officer if he or she can prove or demonstrate that they saw you driving too fast for the conditions. Okay, super important, because the roads are not always going to be perfect for 35 miles per hour, right? You understand that. That's only under ideal conditions. The maximum speed on a freeway is 75, although I have seen there's a few places now, unless it's different, you may see a few places where it says 80. So, but in general, the maximum speed on a freeway, if you can't see a sign, will be 75. 65 on a highway, 35 on a city street, okay, unless posted otherwise. What's the difference between a freeway and a highway? That's something you'll learn in this class. But in general, there's freeways, there's no cross traffic, right? There's no lights, stop lights. There's no intersections. A highway, there are. And there's way more highways in Idaho than freeways. We just have a couple freeways that cross the state. One up, one that crosses up north and one that crosses down south. It is illegal to drive so slow that you disrupt the flow of traffic. Observe posted speeds in school and construction zones. Tickets are more expensive in those areas. Right of way. Right of way is understanding who has the right to go, right? And in a complicated situation like this picture, you're like, well, first thing you look at is there's a stop sign and there's children in a crosswalk. So they have the right of way. Okay. Secondly, what would you go to? You see some bike riders, but they're on the side of the road. They probably shouldn't. If I'm in that white car at the bottom, once the pedestrians are gone and they've all crossed, and that person with the stop sign is out of the way, I can proceed. But of course, I need to make sure no one else goes into that crosswalk, and I need to make sure one of those bicycles doesn't turn and want to cross in the crosswalk, and so they would have the right of way. Okay. So, right-of-way covers the laws that clarify who legally goes first. And so in this situation, we've got a red, blue, yellow and a car and a motorcycle. Interesting situation here, right? So I don't see any stop signs. So it is a uncontrolled intersection in that case, which means whoever gets there first goes first, right? So the motorcycle would not be smart. No, we don't know who got here first in this situation. So let's say they all got there at the same time. Okay. So the red car and the yellow car can go at the same time because they have their blinkers on. Okay. And then the blue car just wants to go right. So he can just go. And then as the motorcycle, I would go last. I would just stay out of the way and go last. So, legally here, it depends on who's got their blinkers on. The rule of thumb is don't pull in front of a car, so the motorcycle shouldn't pull in front of that red car. The yellow car is just going to turn, so he's not in anybody's way. The blue car really isn't in anybody's way. So every situation is different, but the basic rule is whoever gets there first goes first. And then if there's someone on your right and they got there at the same time as you, they have the right of way. Those are the two laws to know, okay, at an intersection. If it's an uncontrolled intersection, whoever gets there first goes first, or whoever's on the right has the right of way. So a yield sign helps drivers know who has the right of way. So you have to yield, which means give the other driver the right of way when there's a yield sign facing you to faster traffic. When entering a street from an alley, driveway, or garage, you have to yield to anybody that's already out there. At four-way stops, at an unmarked or uncontrolled intersection, when stopped for cross traffic, when making a left turn, always yield to the straight traffic. That's what I said. Never pull in front of someone who is going straight. In school or construction zones, and for emergency vehicles. So yielding the right of way, quick little video on that. And then I'll have to figure out how to get back to the presentation again, I'm sure.
Yield signs are usually located where a lane or a road merges with another road. At a yield, you must slow down and be prepared to stop for pedestrians, cyclists, and other vehicles. You must give them
into the lane closest to you.
But many drivers wait until all lanes are clear before proceeding into the second or third lane. This ties up traffic and aggravates the drivers behind.
If you need to be in the far lane, the correct procedure is to enter into the closest lane, then signal, and change lanes once you've merged into a flow of traffic.
Be very careful when checking for oncoming traffic. The vehicle ahead of you may stop suddenly while you're looking to the side.
Make sure you shoulder check and use the side mirrors to your advantage.
Watch the 60-second driver, Thursdays at 6 on CTV News.
All right, so okay. Again, I'm gonna try to maximize. I'm a tech teacher, so I should know this, but this particular program is a little bit different. I don't want to have to start over every time, but it's okay. It's all right. That's right of way, and the things that I got from that video. You're supposed to turn into the closest lane to you first, and then you do lane changes after that. Now, there are a few cases, I've told my driver's ed students, there's just no time for 3 lane changes in Boise Meridian area or any other large city. Sometimes when you need to go way over to the turn lane, you're not going to make it if you go 1 lane, lane change, and then lane change, and then lane change. You have to, if it's just short distance, signal and check over your shoulder, and if no one's there, slide all the way across. Now, is that the law? No, the law is 1 lane at a time. But there are some situations where ask your parents. That is true. There are some situations where you just have to do that. But just so you know, as you're learning, closest lane to you is the law, and then lane changes after that. And of course, if you have time, that's what you'll do, is 1 lane at a time. Okay? All right, so that's yielding the right of way. Idaho law requires you to move over 1 lane or slow down when approaching an emergency vehicle. And this is a law that's been around for just a handful of years, not forever, but police officers, emergency responders are at high risk on the side of the highway or freeway. And so the law is you have to move over, give them a lane of space. Pedestrians. All right, so here's a few of the laws. Blind or hearing impaired pedestrians always have the right of way. Obviously, they may not have 100% vision or hearing, and so we want to give them the right of way. So if they're carrying a cane or have a guide dog, those are 2 of the things that can help you notice that maybe they need a little bit of space, and pay attention to them. Drivers crossing a sidewalk, this question comes up a lot. Who has the right of way if I want to turn into Burger King and get my fries, but there's someone walking? Well, the law says the driver of a vehicle crossing a sidewalk shall yield the right of way to any pedestrian and all other traffic on the sidewalk. So the pedestrians have the right of way. All right, the rules of 4-way stops. Some of you are a little bit nervous about this, and they're not a big deal. Remember, whoever gets there first goes first. Just relax. Whoever gets there first goes first. Honestly, I've been driving for a long, long time, and I still, if I notice that there's another car going to get there at the same time as me, I have to assume that I know more than them. And I know that sounds egotistical, but I want you to be that kind of driver too. Like, I know the law. Whoever gets there first goes first, and he may not know. So what I'm going to do is slow down, not speed up. I'm going to slow down and let them get there first. And then they go first, and I go second. It works out great that way. Now, if 2 cars do get there at the same time, if there's a car on the right, they go first. Just remember kind of the rhyme. The car on the right has the right of way. Number 3 here, if 2 cars get there at the same time and are facing each other, if there's a car that's turning, they let the straight car go first. Remember, never turn in front of a car. So let the straight car go first. Number 4, if 2 cars get there at the same time facing each other and one is turning right and the other is turning left, the car turning right has the right of way. Now, some of these situations you're going to have to just see or experience to understand. So, yes, another video. How does it look in practice?
60-second driver.
4-way stops can help slow down traffic in a residential area and prevent a dangerous collision.
At a 4-way stop, you must come to a complete stop and yield to pedestrians and other vehicles that arrived before you. Then slowly roll forward to show your intent to proceed and ensure other vehicles are stopping.
When two cars stop at the same time, the driver on the right has the right of way. But if two cars are traveling in opposite directions and are stopped across from each other, the car turning left must yield to the other vehicle.
If you come to a four-way stop and are unsure of who should go first, make eye contact and use hand signals to wave other drivers on if necessary.
Using these simple communication signals can help avoid confusion and prevent a collision.
For more driving tips, watch the 60-Second Driver, Thursdays at 6.
All right, so what I picked up in that video is the car. You can send a message with the car. What you do with your car sends a message, and she said, "Creep forward, like show that you're making movement," and that's true. Don't be shy. If it's your turn to go, now don't just like stomp on it, because they may stomp on it too, and there's a crash. But if you know it's your turn, go ahead and start rolling forward, and that. We'll call it body language from your car sends a message. It's my turn and I'm going. Okay. All right. Let's talk about passing for a little bit. Where you cannot pass on a hill or curve when you can't see ahead. Within 100 feet of an intersection. You may see that question on a test. And I think I remember seeing that on the state test. And so you have to just memorize it. 100 feet of an intersection, railroad, bridge, or tunnel, you cannot pass. When behind a school bus that is stopped to load or unload students. When there is a solid yellow line on your side of the road between you and oncoming traffic. So solid yellow means you can't pass. The dashed line means you can. Okay. All right. Speeding to pass. Hey, this is a new law. It was always tough to pass, like an RV that was going almost the speed limit. And you wanted to go the speed limit. It just was impossible to do so without speeding, which was breaking the law. They passed a new law in Idaho that says you can speed. Interesting, right? You can speed by 15 miles per hour if you need to pass a vehicle that is traveling below the posted speed limit. So they have to be going slower than the speed limit. And you can speed by up to 15 miles per hour over only long enough to get ahead of them and pull back into your lane. You can't keep going that speed, all right? So the pass must occur in an area that has a posted speed limit of at least 55 miles per hour, and you must immediately return to the posted speed limit. How about slow-moving vehicles? In Idaho, this is a thing, right? Depending on where you live, you can come around the corner at 65 miles an hour, and there's a tractor going 10. Very, very dangerous. And they have the right of way. Right? They have the right of way. We need them to be there. They are growing our food, and that's how they get from field to field and around. So a vehicle slowing down 3 or more cars on a rural road must pull over. Now that's on a highway typically. Vehicles that can't go faster, or they're designed to not travel faster than 25 miles per hour, may travel on the road, but they have to have brakes, turn signals, and a slow-moving vehicle sign. Notice that the slow-moving vehicle sign is a triangle with the corners cut off. Okay, that's the best way to remember it, because there's another sign that looks a lot like it, but it's upside down. It's the other way, so make sure you know the difference. All right, parking. You must park within 18 inches from a curb with your vehicle facing the same direction as the flow of traffic. Okay? Closer than 18 inches to the curb. You want to practice that. When parking on a hill, use your front right tire to help prevent the vehicle from rolling into traffic. And so these pictures at the bottom, they show you pretty much the 4 different situations. Just remember that the front right tire will prevent your car from rolling into traffic. And I even tell my students, even if it has to roll off the hill, that's the right way to turn the tire. You don't want it to roll into traffic. And so those are the things, whether it's uphill or downhill. The pictures on the left there are with a curb. The pictures on the right are without a curb. And so, for example, this one right here, facing uphill with a curb, if I turn my wheels to the left, if for some reason it popped out of gear, it would roll against the curb and stop. Okay? If I'm facing downhill without a curb, it's just the opposite. Turn it to the right. This is without a curb. Because if it pops out of gear, I don't want it to roll left into somebody or a car and kill somebody, I would rather my car roll off the road. Okay, so just keep those things in mind. All right, you can't park in a bike lane or on a sidewalk. You can't park in front of a driveway or on a freeway. You can't park. Now, here are these distances are going to get you if you don't memorize these. Yes, they're on the state test. Yes, they're on a few of my quizzes too, because I want you to have that information. I don't want you to miss a question just because you're like, was it 15 or 20? I know it's tough. So just remember that. I put them in order here, so maybe that'll help. 15 from a fire hydrant. You cannot park closer than 15 feet from a fire hydrant. That's so a fire truck can get in and hook up their hoses. You can't park within 20 feet of a crosswalk. That's so cars can see the pedestrians. You can't park within 30 feet of a stop sign. Now, this is crazy because if you just go to downtown any place, you'll see people parking right up to the stop sign, and that's against the law. 30 feet from a stop sign. And you cannot park within 50 feet of a railroad crossing. I don't think you'll see that question. I don't think that's on any test or quiz, just so you know, but that's the law. So the big ones are fire hydrant 15, crosswalk 20, stop sign 30. Okay? You can't park next to a red or blue painted curb. You can't park in a parking space that says handicapped, unless you have a handicapped parking sign. Turn signals. Always use your turn signals when you're changing lanes or passing another vehicle, turning at an intersection or entrance, pulling away from the curb into traffic, entering or leaving a highway or freeway. And by the way, the law says you must signal for at least 5 seconds or 100 feet. We used to teach 100 feet years ago, and then we realized not every student knows what 100 feet looks like, especially when you're driving 35 miles per hour, right? I'm not sure I can figure that out at 35 miles per hour or even standing on the sidewalk. So we realized that it's so much easier just to count 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000. That's how long or longer you have to signal by law. And yes, if you're in a parking lot at night all by yourself and no one's there and you're changing lanes, you should signal. It's doing the right thing when no one's watching. It's the law, and it becomes a habit, honestly. If you don't do it in some situations, you may stop doing it altogether. Turning right on red, you may turn right after stopping at a red light unless otherwise posted. Okay, so in Idaho, if the light's red, you stop, there's no cross traffic, you can go. Guess what? You can also turn left after stopping at a red light, but only if turning onto a one-way street from a one-way street. And I should have put that. It's onto a one-way street from a one-way street. It doesn't happen very often, but it is legal to do so. Open range laws, where posted, the animals have the right of way. These are a little bit freaky. Some of you live in areas like this. I mean, if you look at this picture, there are cows grazing on the side of the highway. There are some posts, but there's no fences. There's nothing in between them. These cows can walk across the road whenever they want, and they do, which includes in the middle of the night. Now, that is freaky. These things weigh a lot, and they will take you out. So if you see an open range sign, pay attention. And because they have the right of way, if you kill one, you pay for them, right? And the damage to your car. Not a good situation, but in Idaho, I mean, farmers can't afford to fence thousands of acres to keep them off the highway. So that's probably why the law is the law. Idaho open container laws, it is illegal to drink alcohol while driving or to transport an unsealed container of alcohol in the passenger area of a vehicle. That means unsealed means it's been opened before. Even if it has the lid back on it, like a bottle, or if it's a beer can that has a little bit in it and it's in the back seat from a previous party or something, that's against the law. You cannot have an unsealed container of alcohol. It doesn't say how much. I mean, empty, it's still an unsealed container. You cannot have it in your car. So hopefully you guys will make wise choices when it comes to this, if you choose to drink at all. Hopefully you won't. It's nasty stuff anyway. But just know the law. And if you like it, you enjoy it, you do it, well, A, it's not legal until you're 21. But B, have a designated driver. and make sure you're not the one driving, or make sure the driver isn't drinking also. Okay. Other just random laws that you need to know. Headlights must be lighted from sunset to sunrise, or when anytime visibility is poor. You must dim your brights. Okay, this is on the state test, and if you miss one of these, you'll miss both. I know people who failed the state test because of this question, because they ask you two things. They ask you, hey, how far should you dim your brights when you're coming head on to another car, and when should you dim your brights when you're coming up behind another car? Okay, so just remember 500 and 200. And so when you're coming around a corner and there's a car also coming around the corner and you guys are facing each other, and your brights are on because it's dark, it's way out in the country, that's really dangerous, head-on collision. And so they say you have to dim your brights 500 feet before you meet them. Okay, and then the other one is when you come up behind a car, so it's like this. You come around a corner and there's a car in your lane going the same direction. You have to take your brights off 200 feet because it's going to blind them. You know, it's going to be in their rearview mirror and it's going to be hard for them to see. Not as dangerous, but still dangerous. So 500 and 200, memorize those. It is illegal to engage in any race, exhibit of speed, which means peeling out, burning rubber, or speed contests on any public road, street, or highway. Windows and windshields must be kept clean and free of stickers, signs, posters, except any required by law. When a load extends 4 feet or more out the back of a vehicle, a red flag must be attached to the load. It is illegal to drive recklessly or inattentively, and they'll get you on that because that fits a lot of situations. Reckless driving or just not paying attention a little bit, right? It's illegal. You have to be paying attention all the time and driving safe. Hey, when do you call the cops after a crash? Well, if there's $1,500 or more of damage or any injury or death. Okay. And by the way, it's hard to guess $1,500 of damage, but it's pretty much anything these days. You dent their fender, that fender could cost $3,000. You know, so it's pretty much I'd say any damage. If it's a scratch, probably not, right? That's still probably $500-600 for them to buff it out and repaint it. Okay, so keep that in mind. But something that's dented, easily over the $1,500 of damage, call the police. Even if the other person says they don't want you to or you don't need to, they'll give you their phone number. Yeah, right. That happens a lot, and you'll never hear from them again. So call the police so your insurance can handle it and things are taken care of. So texting and driving, since July 1st, 2012, it's been illegal to text while driving. But a new law has taken the place of this one, and you can't use your phone at all unless you're hands-free. So this is actually kind of outdated, but I just wanted to keep this in here for kind of historical perspective. Before then, people were texting and crashing and not paying attention. And even after this, they still were and still are. But the law since 2012 was you couldn't do any texting. Now, texting means just looking at, okay? Just looking at. Or preparing to type or typing. But looking is the biggest thing. I mean, that is texting. People think it means you were actually texting, because we know what that is. But no, they define texting, that meaning engaging in the review of manual preparation and transmission of written communication. So review means to look at, okay? You can't do it. All right. Anyway, so the new law is you can't even use your phone at all. You're going to have to get into that habit. It's terrible. I see people all over the place. I think it's worse than drunk driving because everybody has a phone. Not everybody has a bottle of beer in the car, but everybody has a phone. And so you'll see people just staring down while driving. It's scary. It's scary. Don't be one of those drivers. You used to be able to look at it at stop signs before this new law. Now you can't do that either. So nothing unless it's hands-free. Hands-free meaning it's voice-activated stuff. So you check your stuff before you leave and after you arrive. That's it. Okay? So I used to ask, is looking at Snapchat or Facebook texting? Is taking a selfie and posting it texting? Is reading a text texting? Yes, it's all texting. So yes, the answer is yes. So we're going to cover that more in the Driving Safe, Sane, and Sober unit. All right, so controversial laws. Unbelted passengers are allowed in the bed of trucks in Idaho. That's such an Idaho thing, right? You have to wear your seatbelts unless you're in the back of the truck. What? What? It's true. That's why it's a controversial law. That's not safe at all, right? The reason people die is when they're not seat belted, they go flying out the window and they get crushed or they hit something and they die. You want to stay in the car, seat belted in, like a roller coaster. You're not going to get on a roller coaster without that thing over you and the belt and all that. No way. But you do it in cars? What? It's crazy. All right, helmets only required for those under 21. Why? Should cell phones be outlawed completely while driving? This is outlawed already. I mean, I need to update this. So yes, already is. Why does Idaho only have a secondary seatbelt law, which means you can't be pulled over for just being unbelted? They can't. If a police officer sees you unbelted, he can't pull you over. He has to have another reason first. And for an adult, it's $10 if you get a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Shouldn't it be a little bit harsher than that if it saves your life? Speed limit. Is driving 5 miles an hour over the limit allowed? No. Should it be? Bicycles don't have to stop at stop signs. Open range law. Why do we have to pay for hitting a cow? Okay, so those are some of the controversial laws, which are kind of interesting. So knowing the rules of the road will keep you safe and away from legal troubles. Knowing the rules of the road will give you the confidence to do the safe and right thing in all traffic situations. And so on the road, sometimes you don't get a do-over. There is no oops. I mean, sometimes it's forever. And it's very sad, very tragic. And so understand the laws. If you need to go back through this, watch it again. If you had a question about something, I didn't spend a lot of time on some of the things like parking on hills, which way the wheels should be turning. So, that's in the Idaho Driver's Manual. And you'll see some videos. Look that stuff up. Be assertive and learn this stuff. Take this seriously. This is a subject that will save your life. So that's all. And I will catch you next time around. Mr. Johns out.